Thank you. Great. And in Asia, a lot of companies outsource their Scrum team to an IT vendor. So there's a natural tendency for the company to want to have more control onto the Scrum team instead of letting them self-manage. So what do you think about this situation? This is quite rampant in Asia.
Well, in order to get twice the work in half the time, you have to have self-managing teams achieving goals. So if you micromanage them, you will break the self-management and they will go slow. You might as well do waterfall development. So we have a different way of governance. Okay. Very often, the company won't outsource the product owner, the business people.
That's correct.
And so those business people need to create a backlog, and then they need to work with the Scrum teams, with the vendor, who are estimating that backlog, and then they need to watch them self-manage to achieve sprint goals and implement process improvements so they're constantly going faster and it's costing less and less to get things done. So as an organization managing vendors, you are managing them, but you're acting more like an investor. Okay, I work with a venture capital company. We invest money, but we watch those companies carefully. And if it's not working well, we change the management. But we don't tell the management day to day what to do. We tell them, here's your objective. And we coach them. We say, here are the best ways to achieve those objectives. We give them training to do that. And if they don't do it, we replace them. And so in our companies that we invest in, all of our companies do outsourcing to third-party vendors. So we say to our companies, you need to manage your vendors in the same way. You have a backlog, you expect them to deliver a certain amount. If they can't deliver faster and better than you could do without outsourcing, then you need to terminate their contract. Not only that, if you are outsourcing in China and Malaysia, and you find the Malaysian teams are doing twice as the Chinese teams, then you need to terminate the Chinese contract and move it to Malaysia or Vietnam, wherever the Scrum really works, right? That's vendor management.
It's survival of fittest.
Right. It's quite difficult to get over that, the urge to really, it's a third-party vendor. They could be not very honest with us, right? So we need to double check, triple check their estimations. We need to micromanage and check everything in detail to make sure that they're saying the honest thing.
Okay,
Stuff like that.
Let me give you an example of how a company in London handled Accenture. They said to Accenture, we don't care how you develop or what you do. All we care is that every 2 weeks you deliver a sprint goal in the form of an increment. And in the contract it says if we don't like the increment, we can terminate the contract at will. Accenture, of course, immediately went to Scrum training and figured out how to do this, right?
Well, they would just push back that term.
and then you get, and then like one of our big customers, an oil company, came to us and they said, we spent $150 million with Accenture and IBM, and they didn't get us Agile, so we're coming to you. Right. And we got them going 11 times faster. They said, hey, we're going with you. Forget those other guys. So that's called vendor management, right?
How do you feel about the vendor how well are they receiving this?
Most vendors today, well, Agile vendors today, they much prefer an Agile project, and they much prefer a customer who understands how it works, and a customer who will work with them, will come to sprint reviews, look at the increment, evaluate it sprint to sprint, and give them feedback. That is natural to people doing Agile work. And the vendors that don't like it are people who want to actually do traditional management in the background. And we find a lot of that, for example, in India, particularly in the early days. They have a lot of good Scrum in India today, but particularly in the early days, the Indians wanted a big waterfall specification before they would even do the first Scrum sprint.
That's correct, and that's how many people used to do it.
And we had to re-educate them and show them that if they did not know how to work with an Agile backlog, we were going to use another Indian vendor. And so then they figured it out. And so now companies like Wipro, which is probably the biggest external vendor in the world, they're all learning how to do Scrum at the management level, not just at the team level, okay? Because they know good Scrum will keep their contracts and bad Scrum will cause them to lose contracts.
So what's of advice for the outsourcing company? If you are a third-party vendor, you really need to get this right? The wind is shifting, right? You really have to do Scrum. You really have to think about the essential story when you take on contracts.
We did an outsourced contract at Scrum Inc. some years ago, and we wanted to bring up a new website, and we got 7 responses from Agile vendors, but I looked at them and none of them were doing Scrum. I actually, you can tell an experienced person by reading the proposal can tell immediately these guys don't understand what they're doing. I told the company, we're not accepting any of those contracts. They don't know Scrum. They're not Agile. Find a Scrum team. They had to search the world, and they finally found a really good Scrum team in the Philippines. And then when we set that up properly, we executed the contract. So my recommendation to the managers who are managing external Scrum vendors, you need to have somebody on your team that knows Scrum really well, or you will make a lot of mistakes.